Wonderful. Standing up is good as well as sitting down. So as long as you're ready for our event. And thank you for coming through storms and transport disruption, the like of which we rarely see, and coming along to this wonderful event that Fahad has been busy organising for several weeks. I've seen him darting about, having meetings all over the place, and we're finally here, Fahad. You can now relax because all the hard work's over. We will be starting in a few minutes. We'll be hearing from the Vice-Chancellor, Dr. Eva Epler. Then we'll be having a film, a bit of a panel discussion as well, and then some questions and comments from you in the audience as well about mother language. So welcome to International Mother Language Day. My own mother comes from New Zealand, so I'm going to say to you welcome in Maori, which is actually 4 words. Nā mai, haere mai, welcome. And International Mother Language Day actually originated in the country of Bangladesh. And Bangladesh has just thrashed New Zealand at cricket, so I ought to defer in every way now. Stop smiling quite so widely there, please. So I'm going to defer on all of this event to Fahad and his people here. And we will be hearing also about the role that Bangladesh played in developing International Mother Language Day. There's a very important story behind this, and it actually the day arose out of a campaign to recognise the Bangla language, as we will hear. So it's a wonderful event, and it's designed to encourage multilingual learning and all the wonderful cultural learning and enrichment that comes from thinking, studying, and sharing all that we bring to the table. Literally so with our international spread of food as well. The word university contains the word universe, so I think it's particularly appropriate that we here at Roehampton University are celebrating that international gathering and sharing of knowledge and language and culture. And this particular event is also testament to another aspect of Roehampton and college life, which I will finish now by celebrating, which is the leadership of our great students in organising these important events, leading the community, holding us together. Fahad, as you may know, is one of our college community leaders, SCCLs, in the mother language of Roehampton, our acronyms, and Fahad has been working, as I say, for many weeks. There's some activities in the centre of the table as well, and nodding there to invite you all to come and do some craft as well. And Fahad's been working with a team of 5, and I'll mention them very briefly. We have Nafisa, Sadrina, Humayun, Fokral, and Rahim. So I would like to thank Fahad and all the team in advance and wish him very good luck, which I believe in Bangla is Shuvo Kamuna Shobaike. They're smiling and shaking their head. What can I say? And I now hand you over to the Vice-Chancellor.
Thank you very much, Nick. Well, I'm really delighted to be here tonight. And I think tonight is about a number of things. It's about bilingualism, multilingualism. It's also about diversity and inclusion. That's why I think it's important that we're all here tonight. Roehampton has a really diverse population of students and staff, and a diverse population of vice-chancellors as well, with many people from multilingual identities, and myself included. And I did a bit of looking into the history of multilingualism at Roehampton, and actually there's quite a lot of it. There's quite a lot of events. There's quite a lot of bits and pieces of documents that show that Roehampton has always had an interest in multilingualism. Not least because we have been teaching linguistics for some time. Just going back to why we're here today, well, of course, UNESCO declared an International Mother Language Day as a way of firstly improving awareness of linguistic and cultural diversity, because you can't have linguistic diversity without cultural diversity, and you can't have cultural diversity without linguistic diversity. And of course, as a way of promoting multilingualism. And as an educational institution, I think we really all appreciate the value and importance of such an event. And it is events like this which recognize the power that language and multilingualism has in advancing inclusion and celebrating diversity. And that ties to our own strategic objectives and our commitments to equality, diversity and inclusion, and creating an environment where everyone can thrive regardless of their background. Now, of course, if we kind of turn the history book pages, we need to recognize that the day has its roots in Bangladesh, with tragic events in Dhaka in 1952. And for many, bilingualism or multilingualism has been a struggle. And it is still for many a struggle today, because speaking in another language is still too often seen as suspicious. Yet, bilingualism and multilingualism is on the rise, and by some estimates, more than 40% of the world's population is multilingual by some measure. And in the UK, it's growing. The number is now quite low, between 7 and 15%, depending on estimates. But what we know is that the younger age population is more multilingual than previous generations. And that's a good sign. It's a sign that a number of communities are celebrating and hanging on to their cultural diversity through language. So with the makeup of staff and students whose heritage stretches around the globe, we want to be champions of multiculturalism at Roehampton. It's our duty to foster an environment where everybody feels safe, supported, but also where we celebrate difference and we encourage and promote the importance of keeping connections to ancestry, to roots, and specifically keeping connections to personal experiences. So at Roehampton, we aim to do a number of things, but of course our main objective is to help our students develop three things: confidence, knowledge, and skills needed for a successful career and a fulfilling life. And of course, we know that being able to speak more than one language is one of those skills that gives you an advantage in terms of job prospects. Maybe not because the job that you're going to go into will require different language skills, but there is increasingly a lot of research that proves that, and I would quote that research, and there is certainly an element of bias in me quoting that research. But there is research that talks about a bilingual advantage. And apparently, bilingual people statistically tend to have slightly better, it's only slightly better, emotional intelligence and slightly better cognitive abilities. I rest my case. Now, aside from being multilingual, giving you an advantage in terms of skills, of course, our capacity to live and breathe diversity is something that will serve us well into the future. Bilingualism and multilingualism is an opportunity for students to maintain links with their extended families. It's an opportunity for our children or our future children to maintain links with their extended families. And I've just come back from France with my son, who, by the way, refuses to speak French in England. But when he's in France, he has no choice because his grandfather doesn't speak English. And somehow he manages, because there's sweets that depend on it, and pocket money that depend on it. But it is an opportunity, and it is something that allows him to keep in touch with his extended family. So keeping in touch with extended families, but also adapting to different cultural settings. And that ability to adapt to different cultural settings is something that will serve you well in the future. Because you're all going to be experts at different cultures. So I want you to feel confident, I want you to feel empowered about being bilingual, being multilingual. It is something that is going to serve you well. Alors mes amis, célébrons nos langues maternelles. My friends, let's celebrate our mother tongues. Je vous souhaite une très bonne soirée. Have a wonderful evening.
Sorry, it's me again. You've already seen me on the film, but I've completely changed my plan and I'm going to talk about something different. And but it's going to be again about the importance of multilingualism and the importance of multilingualism for our identities and what we can express about ourselves when we know more than one language, when we can use more than one language. One example is that, for example, Nick, in his opening, spoke to us in Maori and English, but I just conferred with him and asked him, do you have German roots? And he said, yeah, my dad is German. And how do I know? Because he called his grandmother Oma. Okay? So that was clear that he must have German roots because we call our closest family members by very often our first language names. The other thing I would like to pick up is that the Vice Chancellor talked about the cognitive advantages of multilingualism, but what I would like to do today is I would also want to highlight the disadvantages of multilingualism. And what I would like to do is illustrated by the slides we have here. This is a very familiar picture of how we in the UK see the world. Can we go to the next slide, please? This is very different, isn't it? This map represents exactly the same thing as the previous map, but this time with an Asian-centric map. Okay? So the information is the same, but the way we look at it is completely different. And this is exactly what I would like to do in the next few minutes. And what is represented here is the main language families that exist in the world. Okay, thank you. Can we go to the next slide? And what we see on this slide is that the picture is getting more and more colorful the more we go into detail. And I think one of the aims of Mother Language Day is that we want to preserve that colorful picture. We want to keep it, we want to be able to express ourselves in this multitude of languages. But there are challenges involved in that. Can we go to the next slide, please? And fortunately, Bangladesh, as we've already heard several times, is leading in this initiative. And what we see here is a map of the languages spoken in Bangladesh. And Bangladesh has Bangla, the name the country is named after, 6 regional languages which are official languages, 32 recognized minority language, and 3 officially noted immigrant languages. So this is quite unusual if we go to the next slide, because here I present countries with more than one national language. And what we see here is, first of all, we've got the comparison with Bangladesh. And secondly, we see that world leading is Bolivia. Second is Zimbabwe. And then we see after South Africa, we go down to 4 national official languages, and then we are down to 3. So Bangladesh is world leading in this respect. But the reason why I made these slides is I would like to ask you a task. How old are these countries? Are they very old? there are a few exceptions. If we take out Switzerland and Belgium, they are all very young, exactly. And this is one of the beautiful things about multilingualism. The world is changing. And the only two are relatively old. Both Switzerland and Belgium were founded in the 1850s, but most of the other countries are really young. And what is changing is that the one nation, one language policies are fortunately slowly changing. Switzerland and Belgium were forerunners in this respect, but more recently founded nations pay more attention to multilingualism and to minority languages. Why is this important, and why is this important for a university like Roehampton? We have already heard that there are more than 370 languages spoken by school children in London. I think 100 languages may be an underestimate for the University of Roehampton. But the great thing is that we, for the first time, celebrate Mother Language Day, and also I teach multilingualism, a module which is called multilingualism. And things are really changing because 10 years ago, when I said, which languages do you speak? People said French, Spanish, learned in school, and then I said, but what do you speak at home? And then I had to really coax it out of students to say, I speak Hausa, I speak Urdu at home, okay? And this is really changing. So what is changing is that people are seeing the advantages of multilingualism, but we also cannot ignore the disadvantages. And these disadvantages, I'm sure you're all aware of, because reading in a non-native language, writing in a non-native language, and all language skills, all language tasks conducted in a foreign language are more difficult than in one's mother tongue. And you all know that. So there are also disadvantages, and I think what we need to do here at Roehampton and worldwide as well is that we need to acknowledge these difficulties, that we need to respect them, and that we preserve multilingualism by respecting the difficulties that are involved in using more than one language and preserving more than one language. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Eva. I think now it's my time to say something. I'm really bad speaker. The first time I guess I'm giving conference with Hungarian times. I hope you don't mind. We are celebrating International Mother Language Day 2022. As for me, I do have several identification Bangladeshi ASCII farmer, so it's really special to me. I'd like to give a massive thanks to everyone for making this event successful. Therefore, my sole project to mark International Mother Language Day 2022, which has been supported by the Southlands College. Today, I'm very proud, because I'm really proud, but not because being the organizer of an event, which is the first time in Roehampton history, not because I have completed my project very successfully, not because I have taken so many challenges during this project and get it done and prove that I can do whatever I want to do, but because for the first time I feel I have contributed something for the Roehampton community and therefore for the whole world. I'm so happy today that I have been able to represent not only my mother language, which is Bangla, but also all the languages, including the languages that have been suppressed and being suppressed around the world. I believe every language should be honored, non-discriminatory, and I'm not pressing for all. Because language is life, our love and show the light of our emotion. পৃথিবীর সকল মা এবং মাতৃভাষার জন্য আমার সম্মান এবং ভালোবাসা রইল। In English, it will be my love and respect for every single mother and mother language around the world. All the mother should stay well. I hope you enjoyed today, and please forgive any shortcomings during this event. Once again, thank you everyone for attending and showing up for mother language. Gracias.